name's Mikkel.
All right, my name is Mikkel White. I'm the pastor here at our South Lansing campus of Sycamore Creek Church. Joining me this morning is Eric Neeser.
Woo-woo! Hello.
Eric, tell me a little, where do you serve here at Sycamore Creek? You're wearing your serve shirt.
I am. I was
feel
out
like
there
I can ask you that.
lugging pumpkins, which was
Lugging
cool
pumpkins,
with people that were doing way more. I'm on the vision team. I help with the small groups team. Just a little mishmash of kind of different stuff.
Yeah,
so
everywhere.
It's fun. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so we have a shout-out question for you this morning.
Ooh.
Today is our South Lansing Art Festival. Tell me, what are you most excited about?
Oh.
Pumpkins?
The pumpkins. Yeah, definitely the pumpkins.
Live music.
Ooh.
My kid said live music earlier because he's ready to dance his butt off. So
That is a direct quote.
Yeah, it was a direct
good.
quote. I won't tell you who it was, though, because, anonymity and all that. I'm excited about the food vendors.
Ooh, it's going to be good. Aren't there like 2-3 different ones?
3 different food trucks plus other vendors who are selling like baked goods and stuff like that. So
I hope you came hungry.
I hope you came hungry, and I hope you're ready to do some early Christmas shopping because that's where it's at. Okay, would you stand with me, and let's begin our morning with some music.
I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive, and all my failures I tried to hide. It was my turn till I met you. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. Your mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old made new. Jesus, when I met you, oh what a day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave. This bridge together, and it's a really cool reminder of the story of God's love for us. So as we sing it, pay attention to the words and know that this is true for all of us. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, but you called me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Now your love is the air I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you call my name, it's such a good reminder for me to sing that song as specifically the line of my shame was heavy, right? But you came and he meets us in that, right? Like, how can we carry that weight? That first verse is really powerful for me. I'm Nathan, by the way, if you don't know me. I lead and sing music up here pretty regularly, but I also know that some of us singing that song that we just sang, of Glorious Day, it's really kind of a hype song, a beautiful song, but not all of us are in that space, right? Anytime you gather people together, there are some of us who are in spaces where life is amazing and going well, and there are others where it kind of sucks, and we're trying to figure out how do we move forward from here. So this next song we're singing is just an invitation, I think, for us to trust and learn how to trust to God in the midst of whatever is happening. So let's settle in and sing this one together.
Thank you so much. Y'all, join me in thanking God for this team up here of volunteers leading us. Go ahead and take a seat. Kids, you are dismissed for Kids Creek. We've got lots of fun stuff upstairs for you to do. There's
Don't you ever wish
snacks.
sometimes you were a kid where you could go up there, have some snacks?
Gosh, that
learn
sounds really nice, doesn't it?
Right? You can, I mean,
I
go ahead.
could
You know,
go
I'm
up
just
there.
gonna,
You know,
I'll stay.
yeah,
I'll
okay.
stay. I'll hang
All right. Okay, so you should have received, when you walked in, a program. This program has all kinds of information for you. I encourage you to look it over. One thing I want to draw your attention to is this little card. It's called a connection card.
Ooh.
We would love to connect with you. We're pretty sure that maybe you want to connect with someone here. So go ahead and put your name and your email address on that. If you're a first-time guest, you can put any information that you'd like to share with us on that. And if you do share this with us, there is a free booklet in the back.
Nice.
It's also available if you sign up for a small group. So keep that in mind as we
Could you get 2 books then for the price of nothing?
You know, you could.
It's the same book, though, right?
It's the same book,
Okay,
so I
kind of
feel like maybe you just want the one.
Okay.
But, you know, I'll leave that to you. Okay, so, and we'll give you more information on what to do with that connection card later. We are a church of selfies.
Selfie time.
It's selfie time, so go ahead and, I left my phone down there.
Here,
so
I got it.
I rely on you for
I'm pretty
this.
bad at technology, though.
Yeah.
Smile.
Snap a selfie. Yes. That was a good one. Post that to your social medias with the hashtag SCCMI. You can even throw in there SCCS Lansing for South Lansing, because also
Ooh, a little extra kind of going on.
And we have a selfie of the week each week. This week, this is Aaron Umstead and Naima. We love them so much.
That is so awesome. Look at the smiles.
Erin, I think, was hosting on Facebook, and Naima looks to help wherever she can. And so that was just such a fun selfie. So if you post yours, you might get featured next week as our selfie of the week. Who knows? All right, so this week, we're starting a brand new series. It's called I've Been Meaning to Ask. It's also the topic of most of our small groups for the fall.
Nice.
So there's some like synchronization. That's not the right word that I'm looking for.
I mean, I like that, though.
Works.
Makes me think of synchronized swimmers. I don't know why. Anyways,
okay,
we'll move on from that.
We're starting this new series this morning. And so if you're a first-time guest, it's a good day to start, right? Like
this is
starting
perfect.
Off on
Way to be.
A new thing, yeah.
Came at the right time.
Yeah. So our message this morning, it begins with this.
Some of our best conversations start with good questions. Questions we've been meaning to ask. Questions that keep us curious, and questions that lead us deeper into courage and connection. We've crafted this series around 4 guiding questions. I've been meaning to ask, where are you from? Where does it hurt? What do you need? Where do we go from here? These questions aren't surface level. They invite us to tell our stories, share our pain, care for one another, and dream about a new way forward together. Join Sycamore Creek for this 5-week series on Sundays in October, and join a small group this fall to explore these questions deeper.
So I moved here to Lansing a little over a year ago. I joined the team here at Sycamore Creek in the end of August. And so I've been introducing myself quite a bit, you know, over the last year. I've been thinking about this question, where are you from? And then I've also been doing all kinds of other work that's like, you know, where am I from and dealing with things, right? But there's a lot of different ways that you can answer this question. You can think about your ethnic heritage, right? My grandparents are from Germany. There we go. All right, so my grandparents are German. I have got other ancestry that's like English and Irish and generally like European, surprisingly. And but my grandmother's parents are from Germany. And so my childhood was punctuated with some German things like Apfelkuchen, which is sort of like apple pie, except that we were encouraged to put sharp cheddar on top. I don't know. Yeah, sure. I grew up in North Carolina. I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah, okay, so I grew up in North Carolina. I was born in North Carolina. I was also pretty sick as a baby, which has affected, family systems things. I'll leave it vague for now. My parents were from the North. They were from New York and Pennsylvania, which is why I don't have a super strong Southern accent, and is also why I really enjoy hockey. But I don't play, okay? I don't play hockey, but I like to watch hockey, and specifically the Carolina Hurricanes. I love Southern food, though. This makes my mouth water. I'm not even gonna lie to you. This is like Bojangles, fried chicken, biscuits, sweet tea, Cajun fries. Oh my God, it's so good. Pork barbecue, but with vinegar. There is a food truck outside that has fried chicken and other things, so you should, look for that. But this pork barbecue, you guys, when people say it's North Carolina barbecue sauce, it is not. It is not. I'm just telling you, they always put something extra in it. There's mustard or tomatoes or something. No. Pork barbecue is like vinegar and spices, and that's it. And I grew up going to pig pickins, which is where they roast a pig, and then you go and you pick off what you want. Yeah, that's surprising to some people, but this is what I grew up with, right? All right, so that's my geographic heritage. My spiritual heritage is that I grew up in a Christian family. I grew up in the Christian and Missionary Alliance, which is inspired by the Wesleyan movement. It's like John Wesley adjacent or descended. Fairly evangelical fundamentalist. So I don't know, we'll explain more about what that means in a few minutes. When we left that church as a teenager, we wound up at a Southern Baptist church. And then eventually, I found myself at a United Methodist church. And so that's where I've been now. My husband, Nathan, he was up here leading worship. He likes to call himself Methotarian, or at least that's how he grew up. Charismatic Methotarian, okay? So he grew up in rural Virginia, and the Methodist church was like a 4-point charge, which means that the pastor had to preach at 4 different churches, and they only had the pastor twice a month, like every other week. So on the off weeks, they went to the Presbyterian church, and then his youth group was at the Charismatic church. So, hodgepodge, right? We as a family wound up in a Methodist church. Obviously, this is Methodist church, in case you didn't know that. And I've recently found myself in a group of people who are calling themselves post-evangelical. So I grew up, like I said, evangelical fundamentalist, spent a lot of time in evangelical spaces, which there's a lot to that. And a lot of people are leaving those spaces. They've nearly given up on the church, or they have given up on the church, but they haven't given up on Jesus. And they're leaving those spaces because of the church's disempowerment of women, of the church's silence on issues about racism, and the church's exclusion of LGBTQ folks. And so they're looking for a new space, this post-evangelical space. Now, Sycamore Creek is not necessarily post-evangelical, but I would call myself post-evangelical. And I just make that distinction because Sycamore Creek is United Methodist, and so they've never been in the evangelical space. It's a weird map, okay? And that's not really the point of this message this morning. The point is to say where we're from matters. Where we're from matters. The problem here is that in the wake of the pandemic, right, and polarization, we've missed some questions that maybe we've been meaning to ask, questions that would build or rebuild connection and community. Questions like, where are you from? The political polarization of the last 8 years means that we have, in large part, forgotten how to be curious. We've forgotten how to be curious, right? And 2024 is only going to be worse. If you didn't know, there is an election coming up in 2024. It's going to be bad, and maybe we should just vote for a giant meteor, right? It's just going to be a dumpster fire, right? We've forgotten how to be curious about people who are on the other team. Instead, we make snap judgments, right? We lean into vitriol. We lean into stereotyping, and we say, well, you are on that team. This means that for you. We've even forgotten how to be curious about people who are on our own team, right? We struggle to have courageous conversations. We struggle to really connect to each other. And the pandemic, it just magnified issues that were already there. And this, in large part, I think, is because of our mobile, tech-distant culture. At least those things contribute to these issues. It's really difficult to have significant, genuine friendships and relationships and family connections. So one of the things that we do here at Sycamore Creek is that we'll pause throughout our message, in part so that you can have a break from just listening to me monologue, but also so that you can process things and just respond. So our first question, what's your ethnic, geographic, or spiritual heritage? I want you to pick one of those things and just talk about it. If you're joining us online, you can put it in the chat. We're going to take 90 seconds, so turn to someone who's around you, get up and move if you need to, and have a quick conversation. So you all heard my answers to this question. Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about geographic, for me, it hasn't been much, to be honest. It's been mostly Michigan, but as a focus on that, I think, I grew up in Sturgis, I moved up here, and I would say those were really my two homes. And that's just to say I haven't ventured outside of Michigan much. And so thinking about, moving somewhere else, how you've bounced around and everything, gives me, the heebie-jeebies, to really actually, go somewhere else like that.
I lived in North Carolina until 3 years ago.
Yeah. And then
Chicago,
and
then moved
and then
to Chicago, and
here.
then moved here. And so, what was weird is that when we moved out of North Carolina, we had always banked at the North Carolina Credit Union.
Oh,
and I was like, how do you make a decision about where to bank?
Oh, yeah.
This felt like a big deal to me.
You could have just stayed there and then just commuted every time you needed a
I mean, I haven't closed the account.
So you could.
So technically I could, but... Yeah. All right, so let's continue on with the message. We're in this new series. It's called I've Been Meaning to Ask. And this question, it conveys intentionality. It conveys warmth and curiosity and consideration. It implies here, hey, you've been on my mind. I've been thinking about you. I've been meaning to ask this thing. I'm curious about where you're coming from or who you are. I'm curious about you. You know, I don't know about you, but sometimes a thought will occur, a question, and then my brain just like dumps it. But this is like, I'm holding on to it. It matters to me. You matter to me. I'm thinking about you. And that ... the ellipses there, it sort of encompasses, it holds space for the main point of this, which is that we're going to cultivate courageous conversations. We're going to have space for these courageous conversations to happen. And then to keep having them. And even if we need to pause occasionally when they get difficult, like I'm sure we've all had experiences where like we're having a conversation, it gets too close or it gets too heated. I just need to step away. I need to take a break from this. And then you can come back to it when you're ready. Now, courageous conversations begin with simple questions and a curiosity and to truly listen. To truly listen. How many times do we like listen to respond, listen to react? And here we're trying to listen to understand, to really understand each other. So we have 4 guiding questions for this series. And we're going to start with, where are you from? We're hearing each other's origin stories, if you're into like Marvel or, you know. I know there's a couple of people here, John Miller, who are really into origin stories and superhero characters and all that. And my son, James. Yes. All right. We believe that everyone is beloved. Everyone is beloved. Everyone is made out of the dust of the earth, right? And the breath of God. We share some things in our origin story, even as we're different. We believe God draws close to us, right? Our stories are messy and beautiful and painful, and they're being rewritten and written over time. So we have to commit now to not assume things about each other. And we have to commit to stay curious. Yeah. In our second message, we're going to talk about the question, where does it hurt? This series is like getting real. It's not for the faint of heart. But we believe that everyone has experienced pain or is carrying pain or will experience pain, and that everybody has capacity to care for each other, to express compassion and empathy. We believe that God draws close to us in our suffering, so we have to commit to vulnerability and compassion. In our third week, we're going to talk about the question, what do you need? We need to hear our hopes for healing. We believe that even when we're in those seasons of transition and pain and suffering, the person experiencing those things is the one best equipped to answer the question, what do you need? So we're not going to assume what someone else needs. We're going to let that person talk to us. We believe that God calls us to care for each other, and so we have to commit to listening and to being present. And then our fourth question, where do we go from here? We need to hear a shared commitment and to find a path to move forward. We believe that courageous conversations have power to change and transform us as individuals and our communities. We believe that God bridges those connections in unexpected ways. And so we have to commit to continue this conversation. All right, so in order to have these courageous conversations, we need to build connection and trust, which is really the foundation for any relationship. We need to commit to listen to each other's stories and experiences. Who or what has shaped us, has shaped you? And third, we need to commit to feel seen and known for who we are, not just recognized, but really known. And so today we're starting with that question I've been meaning to ask, where are you from? We're going to affirm the unique history of each one of us and find common ground. We're going to hold like two sides of that. Like we all come from different places and we're all humans. We all share a common ground. This is about understanding where you're from so that I know where you're coming from. Does It's understanding where you're from so that I know where you're coming from when we have hard conversations. So we're going to look at 2 origin stories that are in the Bible. There are lots of origin stories in the Bible, but there are 2 that we're going to focus on. And they sort of kick off the Old Testament in Genesis. It's the origin story of like humanity. And then the origin story that kicks off the New Testament, where Jesus calls the disciples. And we're going to look at some artwork. So this series is inspired by Sanctified Art, and they put together all these different kinds of things. So the white one is called 4 Rivers of Eden by Hannah Garrity. It's inspired by Genesis chapter 2. And the other one is by Lauren Wright Pittman, and it's inspired by John chapter 1. It's called Come and See. In this message today, we're also leaning on some work by Dr. Raj Nadella. He is the Samuel A. Cartledge Associate Professor of New Testament at Columbia Theological Seminary in Decatur, Georgia. All right, so we're starting with Genesis. Amidst all of our diversity of histories, we're all formed from the dust and God's very breath in the Garden of Eden. So we have a common home. We have a common home, a shared birthplace, a communal calling, which is to sustain and care for all of creation. I'm just going to read this. It's Genesis chapter 2, verse 5 to 15. It's from the Message version. So if you need to shift so you can listen and hear this story, do that. It's really a story, right? At the time God made earth and heaven, before any grasses or shrubs had sprouted from the ground, God hadn't yet sent rain on earth, nor was there anyone around to work the ground. The whole earth was watered from underground springs. God formed man out of dirt from the ground and blew into his nostrils the breath of life. The man came alive, a living soul. Then God planted a garden in Eden in the east. He put the man he had just made in it. God made all kinds of trees grow from the ground, trees beautiful to look at and good to eat. The tree of life was in the middle of the garden. Also, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A river flows out of Eden to water the garden, and from there divides into 4 rivers. The first river is named Pishon. It flows through Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of this land is good. The land is also known for a sweet-scented resin and the onyx stone. The second river is named Gihon. It flows through the land of Cush. The third river is named Hiddekel and flows east of Assyria. The fourth river is the Euphrates. And God took the man and set him down in the Garden of Eden to work the ground and keep it in order. I love to imagine Adam and Eve in all kinds of different ways. My friend, Pastor Tom, my colleague, found this image from Diaja, an artist, imagining Adam and Eve in a different kind of way. And I wonder, how would Adam have answered this question, where are you from? Well, Adam's from the ground. In fact, this is the first pun. Well, maybe not the first pun ever, but it's a pun. Ha-Adam is ground. Adam, Adam, right? Ha-Adam, Adam. It's sort of like hummus and human, right? There's a connection there. It's a pun. The groundling is from the ground, right? Okay, here's another pun for you. A priest, a pastor, and a rabbit walk into a blood bank. The attendant asks the rabbit, "Why are you here?" And the rabbit says, "I think I'm a typo." All right. All right, so the second way that Adam might answer this question, he's from the ground. He's from God's breath. God's breath. We all need breath. Our breath is a gift from God. So there's a mutual interdependent relationship here where the groundling Adam is from the ground, and then the ground is tilled by the groundling. It's taken care of by Adam. Adam comes from the ground and is dependent on the ground, is dependent on the fruit of the ground. The water flows from the ground and also waters the ground. And there's the breath. Like, just imagine God kneeling next to Adam and breathing life into him. There's also the 4 rivers in Genesis. It's the inspiration for this piece of artwork from Hannah Garrity, where they come together, they start in one place, and then they flow out in different directions. There's a similar origin. They come from the same place, but there's a diversity in direction, a diversity in their purpose. And this mutual interdependence, this mutual thriving is what is needed to sustain life. So again, that's that theme. We have to affirm the unique history of each one of us, even as we're finding our common ground. You have to know where you're from so people can know where you're coming from. So our second chat question, all right. How are you dependent on people? We've been talking about mutual interdependence. How are you dependent on people who may be different than you ethnically, geographically, or even spiritually? Take a minute and let's talk about it.
Really cool.
All right, so I think that my answer to this would be, I mean, there's some that are obvious but not obvious.
Yeah.
Like where our food comes from, right? Like we're dependent on people in other parts of the world, or maybe even of the United States, to like grow food and make it. Like.
Yeah, certainly. And it's cool when you keep thinking more and more about it, you can realize how dependent you are on it. For me, it was like, growing up, I had all, very homogenous group of friends, but moving to Lansing and different things like that, ethnically, it's been more and more diverse. And it was something where I didn't know I was missing out until I knew, until
you experienced something different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was, it's mind-changing. It was
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's continue on with our second origin story. These stories, they require curiosity, and they require letting go of assumptions, of judgments, of all kinds of different things, right? They require us to keep an open mind. So we're going to read through John chapter 1, verses 35 to 51. The following day, John was again standing with 2 of his disciples, so John the Baptist, right? And as Jesus walked by, John looked at him and declared, "Look, there is the Lamb of God." When John's 2 disciples heard this, so John's disciples, they followed Jesus. So John the Baptist here already knows who Jesus is. He recognizes that Jesus is the Lamb of God, which is a title that means, perfection of love, willingness to offer himself up to God for the sake of others. And John is creating space for his own disciples to follow Jesus. He's not territorial. He's not like, no, those are my people. Like, he's like sending them. He's creating space for them to go and follow Jesus. And then, so they start following him. And eventually Jesus realizes what's happening. He looked around and saw them following. He said, "What do you want?" Well, maybe he didn't ask it like that. Maybe he said, "What do you want?" Tone matters. All right. And they replied, "Rabbi," which means teacher. "Where are you staying?" "Come and see," he said. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they went with him to the place where he was staying, and they remained with him the rest of the day. So John's disciples are curious. They're following Jesus, and they want to know where he's staying. "Where are you from?" They don't really ask until Jesus gives them permission. So they're not intrusive. They're not invading his privacy, right? They're waiting for the right moment. Jesus invites them to express their curiosity. This is healthy, right? This is a healthy curiosity that's eager to engage, but it's not intrusive. And they have a sense, sort of who Jesus is. They know enough to call him rabbi, which means teacher. They're not ready to call him Lamb of God, the way John did. So they don't know him fully yet, but they're starting to understand. And Jesus responds, "Come and see," which in the Greek means to know or perceive or understand. So he's like, "You don't really know me yet, but like come and observe. Come and keep understanding." Jesus knows that their understanding of where he came from is still shallow, right? They're still calling him teacher and not anything more. And this requires a willingness to learn, which they seem to have because they are calling him teacher. They're calling him rabbi. If you didn't get the pun earlier about rabbit, maybe now you see that it's a typo. All right, so this requires a willingness to unlearn those prior assumptions. And those prior assumptions is that God, they had assumed that God would only be untouchable, far away, unknowable. Another word for that is transcendent. And now they have to learn that God can be here, now, with us, close, touchable, knowable. Another word for that is imminent. It requires a paradigm shift, a change in your understanding about who God is. And that kind of deep knowing, it requires an investment of your time and your resources. All right, so Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of these men who heard what John had said and then followed Jesus. So Andrew was with John, leaves to follow Jesus. And so Andrew goes to find his brother Simon and told him, "We found the Messiah," which means Christ. So as an aside, Jesus Christ is who we refer to. Christ is not his last name. Christ is a title that's synonymous. It's Messiah, which means anointed one or savior. Okay? So Andrew has now deepened his understanding from teacher to Messiah. They spent just a day with him, and it's already gone that far. So Andrew brought Simon, his brother, to meet Jesus. And looking intently at Simon, Jesus said, "Your name is Simon, son of John, but you are going to be called Cephas," which means Peter, which means rock. Curiosity here is contagious, right? Like Andrew's curiosity is sparking Peter's curiosity. And the next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip, another person, and said to him, "Come and follow me." Philip was from Bethsaida, Andrew and Peter's hometown, so they're from the same place. Philip went to look for Nathanael and told him, "We found the very person Moses and the prophets wrote about." So from their scriptures, our Old Testament, his name is Jesus, the son of Joseph. He's from Nazareth. "Nazareth?" exclaimed Nathanael. "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" "Well, come and see for yourself," Philip replied. So Philip introduces him to Nathanael, Jesus to Nathanael. And Nathanael's wanting to know, can anything good come from Nazareth? So there's an invitation here to unlearn those prior assumptions, to challenge what you think you know. Don't arrive at premature conclusions about people, right? And as they approached, Jesus said, "Now here, Nathanael, is a genuine son of Israel, a man of complete integrity. Well, that's interesting. How does Jesus know that? I don't know. It's Jesus. He knows things. Also, I'd like to be called a person of complete integrity. That sounds like a nice way for Jesus to greet me. I'd take it. All right. So Nathanael's wondering, how do you know about me? And Jesus replied, I could see you under the fig tree before Philip found you. He saw where he was from. And then Nathanael exclaimed, Rabbi, remember that means teacher, you are the Son of God, the King of Israel. Now, Nathanael knows who Jesus is. He perceives and understands, at least he's beginning to, right? There's a lot more to come. And Jesus even tells him that. He says, you believe just because I told you I saw you under the fig tree? You're going to see greater things than this. He said, I tell you the truth, you will see all of heaven open and the angels of God going up and down on the Son of Man, the one who is the stairway between heaven and earth. So how do we cultivate deeper curiosity that leads us to fuller understanding of others, especially others who are, from Nazareth, who look and think and act and dress differently than we do? Dr. Raj Nadella says, knowing where someone is from requires investment of sufficient time and resources to learn about them, a commitment to unlearning prior assumptions when needed, and a healthy curiosity that engages others while respecting their space. All of those pieces are important. And in her artist statement for Come and See, which we've got right here, if you want to come up and look at it a little closer, Reverend Lauren Wright Pittman describes how each disciple in John 1 has a glimpse of who Jesus is. They see little parts of who Jesus is. And together they form this patchwork of understanding. She writes, we need each other to discover the fullness of who Jesus is. Like, my perspective on Jesus is limited. I need your perspectives on who Jesus is to fully understand who Jesus is. We need each other muddling through this together to understand who Jesus is. And probably there are people who are missing from this room that we also need to learn and hear and understand. Because we have to affirm the unique history of each one of us and discover our common ground. We're looking at where we're from so that we can know where we're coming from. We're going to pause for one more chat question. When has someone else granted you a fuller understanding of God? When have you been in a conversation or a meeting or a Bible study, and all of a sudden, boom, you understand more of who God is because of your interaction with that person? Take a minute and let's talk about it.
All right. Yeah.
So this was a really simple question.
Yeah, really easy, right?
Yeah.
Easy to talk about in 90
Soft
seconds.
pitch for
Yeah.
you there. I'm going to have a talk with whoever wrote these. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. So one of the things that came to mind as I thought about this question is like how different cultures see God, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think sometimes in spaces that I've been, we think about God as like a forever friend or like a parent, and other cultures might see God more as like an authority or a king or something like that. And I think having both perspectives can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Just to think about like the different ways that God shows up in the world, and
It kind of paints layers on top
Right.
of itself to make more of a fuller picture.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Michaela, of
Yeah.
complete integrity. You do want us to start calling you that now, right? I assume.
Sure. Uh-huh.
For me, it was like a quick, one time I messed up and had to reconcile with someone. And it was kind of like a stranger, so I had to like go back to him and apologize. And his verbatim quote, and I'll never forget it, was, "Because God forgave me, I can forgive you," type of thing. And it blew me away, and it made me realize how much like forgiveness God really has for
Yeah,
us to be
yeah.
able to do something like that.
That's
It's
really
huge.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on. We've got one more segment here. This spring, we got to participate. A small cohort of people from Sycamore Creek participated in what is it called? A Dialogue Across Differences workshop that was put on by Resetting the Table. So it was like over 2 weeks. We're dialoguing with each other about differences, different perspectives that we had on all kinds of different things, on like hot button social and political topics. And one of the things that they had us do, like on the first week, is describe an experience you had and how it shaped your perspective on something. So think about how you would answer that. What is an experience that you had that has shaped your perspective on something? I grew up in my early years in downtown Raleigh in a historic part of Raleigh, which is kind of code for like well kept up, mostly white people with some resources. And then there was literally a line, like a street, and on the other side of the street, it was no longer the historic part of Raleigh, of downtown Raleigh. It was predominantly black, low income. The houses were still old, but they weren't well kept up. And I remember in my family a moment where my sister ran away. I don't know. This was a thing that we did back then. And she really just walked around the block. But she walked toward the predominantly black neighborhood. And that scared my parents. And they said, if you ever run away again, walk the other way. Yeah, where I'm from, I don't know. So that experience taught me a lot. It like communicated a lot non-verbally, like without really explicit language about race. And then when I was an adult, I experienced something different. I experienced something called Be the Bridge. And Be the Bridge is, look at that beautiful picture. I had long hair then, by the way. Okay, so I like journeyed with these women. We met once a month for like 2 years. And we went through this discussion guide from Be the Bridge that helped us to talk about our racial experiences, our racial identity formation, where we came from, who we are. I heard their pain. I experienced that I could really mess up in these spaces and survive. I could repair and like confess and do that work, and I could make it through. So you can too, I think, just to put it out there. All right, and I learned more about the racial history and the dynamics of our city than I ever had before. And that experience changed me. And now our church here is involved in CORE, which is Communities Organizing for Racial Equity, which is an amazing organization that works to do some similar things and start you on a journey of being part of anti-racist work. Now, we're also starting these groups. Really, this week, I've been meaning to ask groups. It's based on all this content that we've been talking about. We have booklets in the back. And these are spaces created for us to have these courageous conversations, to begin to ask, where are you from? What's your story? Where's home? What makes you you? Whose are you? Who do you belong with? Who do you belong to? What's your family? What assumptions do you need to let go of? And where is God inviting you to come and see? I hope that you'll consider signing up for a small group. I think they're going to be really, I know they're going to be really powerful. We have one last question to round out our message this morning. Where are you having courageous conversations? And what small group do you think you might join this fall? Take a minute and chat about it.
Today is the South Lansing Art Festival, and we have announcements for you in the style of an art tour. This piece of cardstock medium called the Connection Card by Sycamore Creek Church is an interactive art piece that you can include your name and email to further connect and grow together. You can even flip it over on the back and take a next step to grow together. This piece of media can also be accessed online at sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect for multimedia interactive art. Next, we have our Groups and Events pivotal art piece. By connecting deeper and making new friends over the next 3 months, this interactive art piece includes the I've Been Meaning to Ask free study journal when you sign up for a small group at sycamorecreekchurch.org/smallgroups or on your connection card. They work together. See how that works. This Halloween coming up, we will have a dress-up Sunday, so you can come wearing the art of your choice for Halloween, and there may even be prizes. Check back soon for more information as you join us today for this very fun event. We wish to encourage you to support the mission of Sycamore Creek. If you wish to support the mission of Sycamore Creek, please consider the Amazon wish list for our Kids Creek programming, or even volunteering yourself by emailing our office at office@sycamorecreekchurch.org to find out more. Your giving makes everything here possible, and we are eternally grateful. Let's take it back now to the worship space to see what your giving has made possible this week.
Okay, I'm not going to call anybody out, but I feel like you weren't listening to that video. And look at the back of your connection card. There's information here that you missed. So, like, just finish filling this out. You can sign up for a small group. I'd love, these are next steps here on the back, and there's a next step for everybody. This is a way that you can sign up for small groups. It's also, like, you can take the series challenge and commit to showing up here or online for every week of the series. And also, you can stay for the South Lansing Art Festival. It's not too late
today
to text a friend right now and say, hey, come on out, meet me for lunch, right? So, like, do that right now. And we also have here the Serve Challenge. So we have opportunities to serve, to be a Kids Creeker.
Kids Creeker. Yeah, I saw that.
Creeker,
it's just a good word.
And help out with Kids Creek, which is a lot of fun. I mean, if you
we
want
wanted
snacks,
to go up there today, right?
If you want snacks, then sign up for this. You do have to pass a background check. But if you
then you get snacks.
But then you can have snacks. So it's worth thinking about, is all I'm saying. And, okay, also, in your program, there is an envelope here. So if you came with cash or check and you'd like to give to the mission of Sycamore Creek Church, you can do that in this way. You can drop that connection card and this envelope in the blue bucket that's at the end of your row. But we have lots of ways to give.
Yeah.
I don't ever have cash or checks on me.
Oh, no, it's a rarity if I do as well. I'm with you.
I think it's been a couple of years since I used a check.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do it
so
anymore.
You can scan that QR code and give online.
Nice and easy.
Give on the app, whatever. We do have an app now.
Ooh.
So that's exciting. And however you choose to give, we're really, really thankful because your giving helps move the mission forward here at Sycamore Creek. In August, we had an event we called Totes for Teachers. So this is like the contents of the tote bag, delivering the totes, and a thank you note from a teacher. I want to read this real quick. It was so sweet. Dear Sycamore Creek, that's you, by the way. Your church continues to amaze me as you continue to look after us year after year. The reusable shopping bag filled with supplies to keep our surroundings clean was so nice to receive. Then we walked into the copier room / lounge, LOL, and found mounds and mounds of food to sustain us as we worked those long hours getting ready for students. Drinks and snacks, some healthy, some not. Thank goodness. We're so welcome as we found our days flying by with a new year beginning right before our eyes. Thank you so much. It was from a teacher.
What a nice card. That's so awesome.
It was so fun. It was so great. So thank you again for giving, however you give, or even just showing up here. We're really, really grateful to have you here.
Yeah.
Let's stand for, we have 2 more songs. I forgot. If you brought a guest with you, or you are... No, I'm not going to say if you are a guest. That's not how we roll here. But just say yay!
Wave your hands in the air.
Woo! Woo! Okay. All right.
Let's hear some
Stand
awesome
up.
music.
Let's start with a couple of songs. End.
Lead me back to the moment I heard your voice. Take me back to communion. Lead me back to the moment I saw your face, and it was all so simple. It was easy to love. It was easy to trust. You are closer, closer than my skin. with no space between us. You're so easy to trust. You are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. And it feels so good to know you are my friend. This is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. And I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me, yeah. This is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. And I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me, yeah. You are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are my friend. It feels so good to know you are my friend. Amen. So the last song we're going to sing is Waymaker. It's one we've sang here a few times, or if you've maybe heard in other spaces. I think it's this beautiful reminder that even if it's really scary to think about getting to know people and opening up when they ask questions about where are we from and where does it hurt, that God shows up in those spaces and mends broken hearts. God turns us back to each other and to Him, because that's what we're built for. We're built to be known and loved, and God is crafting that community in this space. So as we sing this, it can be a prayer for you that God would be the waymaker if what Michaela's talking about is scary over the next few weeks. So let's sing this together. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, you're turning lives around. I worship you. Oh, I worship you. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. That is who you are. God, we thank you that that is who you are, and that you're with us where we are and where we're going. Pray this in your name. Amen.
I'm so glad that you decided to join us this morning. I'm thankful that God is a way maker. I hope that you'll join us next week as we continue our series, Where Does It Hurt? And I really hope that you'll stick around, get some food, enjoy the music, and join us for the South Lansing Art Festival. Be curious, creative, and compassionate. Be at peace.